What is up, our brethren of the Forge? We're going to cover one of my favorite metal albums ever. At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul is no doubt one of the most influential records of all time. As of November 2020, this fantastic record actually turned 25 years old, and goddamn, I'm old. I thought it would be great to revisit the record and talk about some of the history of the album and impact on metal culture. If you like what you see and you want more metal coverage in the form of top lists, reviews, reactions, and interviews, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that notification bell so that you never miss a video. Before we get started, when did you hear At the Gates Slaughter of the Soul? Share your memories of the record and discovering it in the comments. Let's get to it. At the time of the release of Slaughter of the Soul, 1995, death metal was starting to sound a bit stale, and they decided to explore a more melodic side of the genre. Their first three records were somewhat underappreciated, but full of ideas and many riffs, and it wasn't until they niched down on Slaughter of the Soul that they had such a huge impact on the metal scene. The young band was full of inspiration after getting signed to Earache Records, and they went in to record one of the most important records of all time. At the time of the recording, Frederick Nordstrom had poor gear, so they were mostly focusing on better performances, and that's honestly how it should be when a band goes into the studio. They didn't have fancy computers to fix everything and punch in and redo stuff on the fly. They had to do every song perfectly to get the best result. I have a ton of appreciation for things like this because honestly, this is what the fans deserve.
It's all too easy to fix a mediocre performance, and the fans deserve better.
Another cool thing about the production on this record is the iconic guitar tone. To this day, people chase that Swedish Slaughter of the Soul tone that was pioneered by the way the guitar cabs were mic'd via the Fredman technique of using two Shure SM57 microphones placed at 45-degree angles to provide that special phase cancellation. It even spawned products in the form of plastic clips that you can purchase to try and recreate that tone for yourself. I love this stuff. Inventing new sounds and people constantly trying to recreate the magic is part of the best part of this record. It's another reason why this record is so iconic. Everyone wanted to have that production as a gold standard. At the time of recording Slaughter of the Soul, the band shifted into something really special. The songs on the album are short, technical, brutal, and catchy, as opposed to their earlier stuff where they were more progressive. The birth of the gold standard of melodic death metal was here. The band showed the world that focusing on the songwriting down to shorter song lengths, having killer technical riffing and compositions, and not being afraid to go outside of the norm was the path to a great and memorable release. It was perfectly fine to write things like this in death metal and have it destroy live like this. Unfortunately, in 1996, At the Gates broke up. The pressures of the unhealthy atmosphere of touring for months with little profit was too much for the band, so they decided to call it quits. It was this moment that the young fans of the metal scene began passing this record around, and At the Gates started swallowing the metal scene despite not being around anymore. This is an interesting moment in metal history as it sort of reaffirms the culture of music in a way, and that's get people to talk about you. The fact that such a massively influential band broke up during the biggest height of their career got people talking about the record. People love a good story and a reason to care about the mythos of your band. In my opinion, good for them for realizing that they were facing a lifestyle that was unfit or unhealthy for them before doing that damage to them personally. I have a ton of respect for that. Really. So where did that influence go? Without Slaughter of the Soul and the style of songwriting At the Gates invented, that metalcore and hardcore scene of the 2000s wouldn't exist.
Slaughter of the Soul was probably like what changed a lot of, honestly, the Boston metal hardcore scene. Everybody knew about it.
Bands like Killswitch Engage, Shadows Fall, Trivium, Black Dahlia Murder, Lamb of God all took plays from the book that At the Gates, when the height of their careers, created. Melodic guitar hooks, catchy song structures, and breakdowns all over the place exploded into the metal scene, and an entire subgenre was born. We owe it to At the Gates for inspiring an entire culture of heavy music, and that matters. It was 12 years ago in 2008 that At the Gates began announcing reunion shows, and the world exploded with excitement to be able to hear one of the most influential metal records of all time live. This was a moment that showed the metal scene that time was one of the biggest things that can support a legendary band. To be able to take all that time off and hit the metal touring scene to a sold-out crowd and massive responses was unbelievable for the band. The band went from not in the spotlight at all to playing in front of fans that know all of the lyrics to all of the albums front to back. In 2014, they released At War with Reality and wanted to incorporate more of the progressive elements of their earlier career back into the sound. With such a long period between their 2008 reunion and 2014 release, they were able to focus on having fun together and really focusing on what they wanted the record to sound like as a whole. They knew with such a devoted fan base who were starved for another record, the inspiration was there to write something that they would love to perform and release to the world. Finally, in 2018, they released To Drink from the Night Itself, which showed the metal scene how the godfathers of the original melodic death metal sound can still crush the genre. This was the release where you could tell that the band was still having fun with their legendary soundscape that they created back in 1995. It's got all of their DNA of great melodic death metal that they pioneered back then. Overall, I think they could have ditched a couple of songs from the record and it probably would have been a tighter release, but it is still a testament to showing how resilient and hardworking this band is and how much they love making their version of death metal. Thanks so much for watching this. If you want to see more videos like this, give me another album that you'd like me to cover in terms of their history in the comments. Thanks for watching. Go with the gods. I'll see you guys soon.